Good morning. I am Dr.A.Sethupathy, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, SNS College of Engineering, Coimbatore. In our institution, we are using new educational systems, that is design thinking process. So we are using how the problem will be created and how to rectify the problem in design thinking. So in pattern making allowances, this is one of the problem we are understood from the pattern, using pattern and making casting process. So in pattern making allowances, so what are the allowances we need to fix in the patterns and how the pattern allowances will be converted into good or correct shape of the castings. So this is the theme today we will go to discuss. So mostly the shrinkage allowance is the most important in pattern making process. The shrinkage is after pour the molten metal. The casting will be sucked the metals in hot condition. So the excess amount of metal will be poured is important. The riser spool will be filled the molten metal. That will be the only remedy of to avoid the shrinkage. So the shrinkage allowances how to make in pattern. So shrinkage is defined as reduction is the dimension of the cast during the cooling or solidification process. So this is what I explained before same. So this is the general property of all materials. The magnitude of shrinkage varies from materials to material, but every material shrinks. So after solidification, metal will be going to shrink. So we will pour the metal in excess quantity of the desired quantity. So that is called the shrinkage allowance. Then draft allowance. When the draft is removed from the mold, the pattern is removed from the mold, the parallel surface to the direction which is drawn gets damaged slightly and gets converted into slightly tapered surfaces. So for compensation of these changes, these parallel surface and pattern are made slightly tapered, nearly 1 to 2 degrees. So we can easily remove the pattern after making the mold in sand. So this allows easy removal of pattern from the mold and it does not affect the casting by any way. So the casting, the molding cavity will does not damages while removing the pattern from the sandbox. So these changes is in pattern surface to prevent it from damages are called draft allowances. So the picture shows what is draft and draft allowances. With the draft and without draft, we can remove the pattern. The edges will be damaged in the molding box, but with the draft, the edges of the mold should not affect it. So machining allowances, after getting our casting process, the surface will be getting very rough. That will go into making the process of machining. So we can give some allowances of the metal or casting. So that is called the machining allowances. The shake or wrapping allowances, when the pattern is to be removed from the sand of casting, the pattern will have slightly to remove it from the sand and it will cause a slight increase in dimension of casting. To compensate this increase in dimension of casting, the patterns are made slightly smaller from casting size. So this changes dimension of pattern is known as shaking or wrapping allowances. So we can use to remove the pattern, give some shaking. So that shaking will be make the casting get larger for actual size. So that type of allowance is called shaking allowance or wrapping allowance. So these are mostly main allowances. Then distortion and camber allowances. When the metal is in cooling process, stress is developed in the solid metal due to uneven metal thickness in the casting process. This stress may cause distortion or bending in the casting. To avoid this bending or distortion in casting, camber is provided in the opposite direction so that when bending occurs due to the uneven thickness of metal, casting becomes straight. So this change in pattern shape to compensate bending while casting is known as bending allowances. So the picture shows what is the distortion and camber allowances, then required shape of casting, then distorted casting and cambered patterns. Thank you.